It's a true story. True story. Dry cleaning business, um, which is arguably like one of the top 1% in the nation, that was struggling with consistency. And I remember they were not thinking they had a people problem, thinking they had a people problem because the business was growing and it was just difficult for them to still maintain consistency. And what happened was when we worked together, we stopped treating service um, like common sense. I mean, that was the main thing that we did. Stop treating um, service like common sense, and and instead build a system. And so by the end of this video, and I'm not ignoring you, I'm checking because we are on different platforms right now. So I just want to make sure everything is working. One time I was doing a live, and when I was done, I realized nothing worked. Like um, we were not like we were, but it's like it just cut off at some point. So if you are joining us live, whether you're on Facebook, LinkedIn, or YouTube, just put in a chat and let me know if we still if we live and if you can hear me clearly. That would be greatly appreciated. Okay. I would greatly appreciate that. Just put that in the chat and I will be able to see it. So please let me know in the chat. Just put something in the chat. Just let me know if everything is coming through okay. Everything is coming through okay. So, um, yes, back to this dry cleaner. They thought they had a people problem, but it was really the fact that they were treating great service as common sense, and that's a common mistake most people make, most leaders make. And actually, I had a conversation recently with someone in my network, which was very enlightful. It's great to meet people who think alike, who think the same. And we're talking about the fact that common sense is not common practice. And we came to the conclusion that at the end of the day, common sense is it's a result of your experiences. So if you've never had the experience before, what is common to you is completely different from me. And we all grow up with different backgrounds. We have different understanding of how the world is or the world should be. And so we see things differently. And that does not mean that what I think or what I know is wrong. It just means that I see things differently. And so we have to be mindful of that. And so what we did with this dry cleaner is we helped them build the right systems and ensure that they were not treating it as common sense, and that was what made all the difference. And so my goal today is to show you exactly how we were able to do that. So let me ask you something. When you think of world class service, like what comes to mind? Is there a company that comes to mind, a way of doing things? Oftentimes, what I hear is Disney, the Ritz Carlton, Chick-fil-A. And you probably do not think about a dry cleaner doing the same. Like, oftentimes, that's not it. But I think you should. And here's why. Because what happened with this dry cleaner is exactly what um, is possible, but it's also exactly what is happening in most growing service businesses. And how do I know this? Like, how do I know this? Is because I was the one who built it. As the one who built it. I did not start off as a consultant, or of course not. I mean, there are things that we do or in our lives, professions, how we ended up here. I did not start as a consultant, obviously. Um, and so I worked with an operator. I joined the team, helped operate the business and make sure that we were doing the right things. And my responsibility was to ensure that we provide a great experience because ultimately we wanted to make pricing relevant. We wanted to provide a great experience that our customers were not thinking about price when doing business with us. And so, how do we become the premium, the top that we can compete with anyone on the experience, regardless of industry and size. That's important. And um, you have to understand that the competition is not the next competitor in your same industry. The competition is everyone else your customers interact with and your customers are doing business with. And so that is a mindset that we had to really figure out how can we operationalize that mindset, that the competition is what our customers are used to, uh, enjoy, and they are not getting it from us. How do we compete with that? And so the owner who cared deeply about his client, customers, employees, and the community in which he served, um, wanted to make sure that the service was solid, wanted to make sure that everything um, still remained consistent as the business grew. So, and here's why, because what I just said is very important. I don't want to just roll over that. The key here is that when you are small as a business, everything is by proximity, and it's like, especially when it comes to the experience, like the owner, the leader, the founder, they can jump in, solve the problem, have that difficult conversation with the customer, make it right because everything comes to them. The customers are most likely wanting to talk to them because they are the owner. And the danger that can happen is that the experience become dependent on key employees or the owner. And oftentimes I have come to understand that loyalty, like there are different levels of it, but sometimes you can detect when a customer is most likely going to leave. And so if you hear something like, oh, I come here because of XYZ, I come here because of Angela, I come here because of Amanda, right? Or I come here because you are this location, or I enjoy when you are working. That is not a system. That is dependency. And so with growth comes complexities. And so if you don't have the right systems in place, if you have not built the right systems, then it's going to be hard for your team to deliver whatever it is that you think they should be delivering in your head. So at this dry cleaner, the owner could not be everywhere at once. And this is something, like, that's why I said this is common among service businesses, regardless of industry. Your team is growing, you have more clients, you have more locations, right? Like growth just brings about complexity. And this is what we have to understand. As it brings complexities, the experience, the thing that made clients love you, the thing that separated you from the competition ultimately begins to drift as a result. And so it's how do you maintain or keep what made you great as you grow? Because the challenges are going to come when you are growing, when you are doing well. There is, I played soccer, played in college and in football, well, the real football, soccer. Um, we have this saying that two goals is never a lead. You can be up two. If I come back and I uh, score one, right now psychologically you are thinking, wow, I don't know if we can do it, right? And it's all mental. But most importantly, we say you are the most vulnerable when you've just scored. You are the most vulnerable when you have just scored. When you've gone on and make a great goal, that's when you're most vulnerable. And this happens a lot. And I think this applies both in business and in life and even in sports, right? When you are doing so well, that's when things begin to break. And it's not because growth is what created the breakdowns, it's because you never planned for it. You never planned for it. So when the experience begin to drift, you can begin to see that in some instances, the interactions with customers are exceptional. Others can be average, right? Some will become inconsistent. And sometimes it's hard to explain. But this is what I think it's important. This dry cleaner, the owner knew something was wrong. because he didn't want that. He wanted something predictable for his team, wanted something predictable for his client. So he just didn't know what it was, but he thought he had a people problem. He knew there was something wrong, but he just didn't know what it was. And he thought he had a people problem, but he did not. He did not. He had a systems problem. And there are lots of service based businesses that struggle with the same thing all the time, thinking they have a people problem, but they have a system problem. So the goal, and I want to tell you, what changed for me was this. One day, I had an employee named Cassie who came to me crying. A customer had complained that she was rude, she didn't make eye contact. And at first, I think for many, it would have been easy for me to make it about her. But I knew her. Like I knew her attitude. I knew her personality. I knew customers loved her. I knew she was great. Yeah, I mean, one of the nicest and sweetest person that you will ever come in contact with. So this had nothing to do with her, but something about that bothered me because I knew who she was and I knew she wasn't a bad person. She wasn't lazy. Like just something about it bothered me. And the more I thought about it, I realized that growing up in an orphanage, it brought me back to that time with my younger brother. And I remember a time watching him get in trouble and there was nothing I could do to help him. And for me, it made sense because it was like, how does someone get in trouble or how do we blame someone for breaking a rule they did not even understand or didn't even know existed, right? Like for failing a standard that was never explained to them. And for me, that was what I got when the incident with Cassie happened, right? And so I wanted to make it right. And it was about, okay, I couldn't do it with my brother. Can I do it with Cassie? Right. And so it gave me this confidence. Right. And I made a decision in the moment, made a decision that I was not going to blame the person for the failure. I was not going to blame them. I wasn't going to blame them for failing a system that was never built, never clear, never built, was never explained. And so instead, I was going to build a system. I was going to build a system. And so I told the owner, I mean, before we were spending at least ten to $15,000 a year, like going to conferences, seminars, right, trying to figure out what's the secret, what are some of these top brands doing, right? And we weren't getting much out of it. You know, you go to a conference, you come back next week, and then it's like, man, I have to catch up from the work that I didn't get to. And so now you're just playing catch up, and everything, all the great ideas you got from the conference, there's not much that you can do with it. And so, I mean, and this is after paying the people, getting conference ticket, flying them there, getting them hotels, feeding them, it just didn't make much financial sense as a business. And so I said, why don't we invest in the system ourselves? Let's go figure it out, right? But let's invest with purpose. And so that's where um, he agreed that I would be the guy to get that done. So I went learning the secrets of some of the world class brands out there, learn how Disney does it, how the Ritz does it, how Chick-fil-A is able to do it, and I was able to come back and implement this system in the business. And when I went to Magic Kingdom, went underground, like walked through Magic Kingdom, not as a guest, but as a student of what made it work, right? So I went there with a different lens, with a different attitude, and I learned from the best hospitality brands in the industry as well. And then when I came back to implement it, I mean, everything just changed for us, right? And within 18 months, we were, I mean, growing revenue at least 5 to 6% within an annual basis. Employee turnover dropped from 35 to 5%. we were charging over 30% more than the nearest competitor. And that was all because we were able to build a system that was sustainable, that was clear, that was defined. And the main thing is that clients were not complaining about the price because when you trust the experience, when you know exactly what you are going to get consistently, price stop being the deciding factor. And oftentimes that's the challenge. Like the business eventually became the official like cleaner for the Players Championship, right? One of the prestigious golf tournament in the world. Um, Not because of lowering prices, because we had built a system that made that service trustworthy at scale. That price was never an issue. And I believe price is only an issue in the absence of value. So you could have the same team, same infrastructure, but with the right system, you can change everything. I mean, someone is asking in the chat, like price is only an issue in the absence of value. So here's what I want you to take from this story. It's not about how special the business is or was. Like I've told you, it's not special. I think it's something that, regardless of industry, it's something that most growing service businesses are dealing with, right? The team dependency, the inconsistencies, the handoffs being unclear, some key individuals being the low bearing, right? Individuals, right? But here's what the difference is, regardless of industry. It was a decision. The decision to stop treating service like common sense and start treating it like a system. That's a decision. The decision to define what great looks like, not in a meeting, not a motivational message, like making it, defining it, teaching it, and making it repeatable. That's what make the difference. Because if you are able to define it, if you are able to um, document, teach it, make it repeatable, show others how it works or what great looks like, I mean, that changes everything. It's all about the decision to invest in the system before the cracks become too expensive to ignore as you grow. The decision is available to every service based business owner, business operator right now. You can make that decision before growth makes it for you and start breaking what made you great. That's all it took, a decision, a decision to change, a decision to have a better way of doing things. And so you are probably thinking, well, how do you do this? Right? It's easy. And I just want to give you a simple framework. Just follow them. DIM, them. Define what great looks like, build the right systems, right standards, operationalize them, inspire your team to deliver it consistently, show them how to do it, and then measure it. Is it working? Does it work? Promote it, advertise it, market it to your team as much as possible. But here's also what I've taken from what we built at the dry cleaner, and which I think it applies across all industries. Okay, regardless of industry. Here's what I think. Um, I mean, I can give you countless examples, whether healthcare, financial services. Like we had the company scale from about 3 to 4 to like 10 million in 3 years, right? And that was because we built a system within 3 years. Ended up acquiring the biggest competitor. Okay. We have companies whose retention rate is at 98%. Okay. And these are real and these are different industries. But regardless of the industry, if you have the right system, you are going to get the same result. If you use the same system, you are going to get the same result. You're going to have that consistent service. You're going to have loyal client, a business that works without the founder being in the room. That peace of mind, regardless of location, regardless of who is working, regardless of the time of day, all you need is the right system. So if you are building a service business, if you are starting to feel the cracks that growth always exposes, because it does, okay? And like I said, growth doesn't create inconsistencies, it just exposes them, okay? And if you recognize yourself in any part of this story that I've shared, right? The first step is the same one. You have to acknowledge that you have a problem and you need help. Diagnosis before prescription. When you go to the doctor and you have not seen them a while, you are never on a treatment for something, and you go complaining, they don't just prescribe you medicine. They do a diagnosis. It could be an assessment, it could be questions, it could be lab work, it could be an x-ray, an MRI, whatever that looks like. Diagnosis before prescription. And the client retention assessment takes 3 minutes, right? Takes 3 minutes, and it shows you exactly where your service is drifting and where your business is too dependent on you or a few key people, which is creating retention risk. So if you're watching a replay, or if you go back to watch a replay, I'm going to leave the link of this assessment in the description. And if you are here live, I'll leave it in the chat as well. So I'll just go ahead and put it in the chat. But for some reason, if you don't get to it and you want it, just DM me the word score, SCORE, score. So the link will be in the description, or you can DM me the word score. Go ahead and take it today, because diagnosis before prescription. And always remember this: every customer you keep is a competitor you beat. I hope you found value spending your time with me and you got value from it. And if you have any questions, you know how to reach me. You can reach me at Francis Flair on all social platforms. And I will see you next week. Bye bye.